night was pitch black as Jake, a seasoned trucker, cruised down a desolate stretch of highway. He'd been driving for hours, the only company being the hum of his engine and the rhythmic thump of the rain on the roof. The constant downpour had turned the road into a slick ribbon of asphalt, and the wipers worked tirelessly to clear his windshield of the relentless deluge. Jake had always loved the solitude of the open road, but tonight was different. An eerie feeling gnawed at the back of his mind, a sense that he was not alone. He glanced at the radio, thinking some music might chase away the unsettling sensation. As he fumbled with the controls, a burst of static echoed through the cab, followed by a strange voice. "Jake," it whispered, low and haunting. "You're not alone." Startled, Jake looked around the cab, but there was no one else in sight. He chided himself for being paranoid, blaming the long hours and the gloomy weather. He muttered, "It's just my imagination," and turned up the radio to drown out the strange voice. The miles rolled on, but the unease never left him. He couldn't shake the feeling that someone or something was watching him, lurking in the shadows. The road seemed to stretch on endlessly, a tunnel of trees and darkness, broken only by the dim glow of his headlights. As he rounded a bend, he spotted a figure up ahead standing at the side of the road. A hitchhiker in the pouring rain, drenched and shivering. Jake hesitated for a moment, then decided to pull over. He had been a hitchhiker once himself, long ago. The stranger climbed into the cab, a tall, gaunt figure with a wide-brimmed hat pulled low over his eyes. He smelled of damp earth and something else, something foul. His voice was gravelly as he mumbled, "Thanks for the ride." Jake nodded, trying to be polite. "Where are you headed?" The stranger didn't respond, but his gaze never left Jake. The cab fell into an eerie silence, the only sound the steady rain drumming on the roof. Jake couldn't take the tension any longer and finally asked, "What's your name?" The hitchhiker's lips curled into a sinister smile. "They call me the Watcher." Before Jake could react, the man's hand shot out, gripping Jake's throat like a vice. His eyes glowed with an otherworldly intensity, and his fingers felt ice cold. Panic surged through Jake as he struggled to break free, but the Watcher's grip only tightened. In that moment, Jake's headlights illuminated a horrific sight in the distance. A line of twisted, mangled cars and trucks, all abandoned on the side of the road. They were the remnants of previous encounters with the Watcher, their drivers never to be seen again. As with his vision dimming, Jake realized that the road was more sinister than he could have ever imagined, and he had unwittingly become part of a chilling nightmare. Jake's vision blurred as the Watcher's icy grip continued to tighten around his throat. He could feel his life slipping away, and terror gripped his heart. Desperation flooded his mind, and he swerved the truck wildly, hoping to dislodge his tormentor. The truck careened off the road and into a ditch, the sudden jolt finally causing the Watcher's grip to loosen. Jake gasped for air, struggling to regain control of the situation. The Watcher, seemingly undeterred, vanished into the night. Dazed and disoriented, Jake stumbled out of the cab, shaking with fear and cold. He surveyed the wreckage of his truck and the eerie trail of abandoned vehicles that stretched into the darkness. It was a graveyard of past encounters with the sinister Watcher. The rain had intensified, making the scene even more unsettling. With no other choice, Jake decided to press on, determined to escape this nightmare. He limped down the road, the rain-soaked gravel crunching beneath his feet. Hours passed, and Jake's hope began to wane. The relentless downpour showed no sign of letting up, and the night seemed endless. He couldn't shake the feeling that the Watcher was still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. As Jake trudged on, he heard a faint, ghostly whisper carried on the wind. It was the Watcher's voice, chilling and insidious. "I'm always watching, Jake. You can't escape me." The words sent shivers down his spine, and he quickened his pace, determined to reach safety. But the road seemed to stretch on endlessly, leading him deeper into the heart of darkness. Suddenly, the headlights of a distant vehicle appeared, and the sound of an engine reached his ears. Relief flooded through Jake as he waved for help. A kind-hearted trucker pulled over and offered him a ride. Jake climbed into the cab, drenched and disheveled, recounting the terrifying encounter with the Watcher. The fellow trucker listened with a grave expression. "You're lucky to be alive," he said. "I've heard stories about the Watcher, but I've never seen him myself. We need to stick together, buddy." As they continued down the desolate highway, the rain finally began to subside. The Watcher, it seemed, had retreated into the darkness. But Jake couldn't shake the feeling that the nightmare wasn't over, and the sinister figure would return when he least expected it. The two truckers kept their guard up, knowing that the road held secrets far more chilling than they could have ever imagined. They were determined to survive this nightmarish journey and put an end to the reign of the Watcher.